This is the future.
The Tenet Envoy is now the most popular weapon in Sisters of Parvos. Who doesn't love something that can nuke a room in one shot with style? This gun almost has everything. First, it's a rocket launcher disguised in a briefcase. It has a high critical chance, high status chance, pinpoint accuracy, and the best part is, it got an awesome gimmick wherein your aim turns the projectile into a homing missile of destruction. The weapon also has an increased mod capacity that with 5 former, you can slap all the needed mods to min-max your build and make this rocket launcher devastating. Speaking of build, this mod setup for Tenet Envoy allows me to hit 50k bleed damage to armored enemies. Okay, let me discuss first why I built my Tenet Envoy this way. So I decided to put critical delay instead of point strike on this build because this rocket launcher won't even feel the negative fire rate of the mod. With the critical delay mod, the Tenet Envoy can still fire its projectile in a fast manner, and the 200% critical chance give it an 84% critical chance, perfect for a slash build with the Hunter Munition mod. In case you don't have this weapon yet, then you should know that the Tenet Envoy has innate cold damage, and this doesn't take into consideration the progenitor of the weapon. Meaning, if you decided to pick a progenitor warframe with a toxin element, then the innate element of this weapon will turn viral. In my case, I was lucky enough to get the cold ephemeral along with this weapon, so I decided just to pursue hunting this Sister of Parvos. But if there's an element you would want for Tenet Envoy, then I would suggest that you go with Toxin Progenitor to give this weapon innate viral damage. Moving on, Galvanized mods seems to work very well with this weapon when modded with a slash bleed build using Hunter Munitions. First of all, Galvanized aptitude raises its status chance, and then it also acts as a condition overload for primary weapons, boosting the damage of the weapon depending on how many status you proc on a target. What this mod does is it gives out 80% damage per status inflicted at max stack, which is huge if you have to proc a lot of status to the enemies. I still don't get how this mod works, squad leader. Okay, let me explain further. The mod gives an 80% status chance at max rank and 40% damage per status effect affecting an enemy, and at max stack, it gives out 80% extra damage per status effect at max 2 kills. This means that every status effect affecting an enemy will grant you 80% damage. If you inflict 1 status, then you get 80% bonus damage. If you inflict 2 status, then you get 160% damage bonus, and if you get 3 status, then you get 240% bonus damage from this mod. The only cap it has is the increased damage on kills, which is 40%, and because of this, it is stuck at 80% per status chance, and it loses 1 stack every 20 seconds, which means it goes from 80% damage per status to 40% again. So you won't lose all your stacks in one go. So squad leader, will it work when I apply status first using other sources other than my primary weapon? It seems to work that way. The condition is that you apply status to the enemy and you get bonus damage from doing so. The same as how condition overload works, in that it has a timer and it's only for guns. Moving on, Galvanized chamber is pretty self-explanatory as it increases your multi-shot when you get kills. What it does for the Tenet Envoy is add extra projectiles, which means you get more damage from the weapon. I also added the heavy caliber mod for more damage that allows me to deal as high as 50k bleed ticks to high-level armored enemies. The mod's accuracy penalty is minimal on this weapon, especially due to its ability to be guided manually. And lastly, Vital Sense for the sweet 5.7 times critical damage multiplier. Terminal velocity is just a personal preference, and I like how it can make the projectile faster, especially when I'm not aiming and guiding the missiles. Lastly, for the Arcanes, I choose Primary Merciless not only for the damage, but also for the reload speed and maximum ammunition it provides. This Arcane synergizes well with this weapon, reducing the reload to 3.1 seconds and giving it 48 reserve rounds, on top of the increased damage. Primed Fast Hands is also a good mod for this briefcase rocket launcher. It trims down the reload speed to 2.2 seconds with Primed Merciless. However, you will need to sacrifice either Galvanized chamber or heavy caliber if you decided to put Primed Fast Hands in your build. Again, this is just a personal preference, and you can sacrifice any mods if you want. The rest of the mods in here are far more important to me compared to the 2 mods I've mentioned and suggested to be sacrificed. But before you do that, bear in mind that 2.2 seconds is still a pretty long reload animation, and in my opinion, I would stick with Primed Merciless and go broke with all the damage mods I can put in my Tenet Envoy. Now, I have seen some players saying that Tenet Envoy is the new king of nuke weapons, but I beg to differ on this statement. While I agree that Tenet Envoy is one of those weapons that can deal massive damage to enemies, but what I don't like about the weapon is its slow reload speed, which affects its overall damage per second. This weapon indeed hits harder compared to other nuke weapons, but the reload speed is just not fast enough for me. Hell, Kuva Bramma can out DPS this weapon if we modded it the same way. And the best part is, you don't need to reload with the Kuva Bramma. All you need is a mutation ammo mod on the Exilus mod slot, and Bramma will take care of the kill per second, so enemies drop any ammunition and it will be converted to arrows for the big bad bow. Another thing that keeps me from being a Kuva Bramma fans is that it's one of the best ways to rank up warframes in about 5 minutes or less. I tried Tenet Envoy with this method and it's usable, but the reload speed and projectile speed are kind of bothersome sometimes. Bramma is different as it makes carpet bombing the grin near enemies in Telsto satin fast. On the other hand, Tenet Envoy kind of slows you down for a couple of seconds when you are reloading, and you don't want this since we are only using Banshee's silence with its savage silence augment, and it only gives us a couple of seconds to not get detected by enemies. While I agree that in terms of ammo economy, Tenet Envoy has a slight advantage since it got more ammo compared to Kuva Bramma, but still, with ammo munition, you won't have any problem with Kuva Bramma. Although in terms of damage, I can also agree that Tenet Envoy seems to be a slight advantage over the nuke bow. And in fact, in normal missions wherein you just want to slaughter dumb artificial intelligence in the game, Tenet Envoy is way more fun to use since it has this homing missile gimmick. Not to mention that it slap even high-level enemies easily. However, in terms of usefulness, or more specifically, importance, I would say that I stick with the Kuva Bramma. My nuke bow is irreplaceable at the moment when it comes to max ranking my warframes fast. Now I would like to know your personal opinion about this matter. Do you still prefer the Kuva Bramma, or are you in love with the Tenet Envoy and not going back to your ex-nuke bow? But before you do that, I would just like to say that the things you see and hear in this video are based on my opinion and personal experience using both weapons. And as you can see, I haven't even got through all that math calculating the nitty-gritty damage of each weapon's damage. If it hits harder than the other weapon, and it kills faster, then it's the better damage weapon. That's the case for the Kuva Bramma and Tenet Envoy. Tenet Envoy hit slightly harder in my case, but despite this fact, I still prefer the Kuva Bramma because it's great in leveling my warframe fast. Now go into the comment section and share your thoughts about this topic. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.
Evolution. This is the future.